Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to a new video. In this video, I just want to talk over another little snippet feature similar to the last video. Not so much a tutorial, but you will be able to learn what I'm doing from it. Effectively, I was just playing around trying to make some sort of targeting system, and I thought I'd share what I've made. So a quick example of what I've got. So I've just got a little simple first-person template, and I've set it up with the Alt key, but obviously you can pick it whatever you want. If you aim at a target, I do sort of a sphere trace just so I can capture a larger area instead of just a line trace. And any actor that the trace hits, it will lock onto sort of right the chest area of the character. So then you can fire away. So you can do it's full tracking. You know, the controls as well, like W, A, S, and D, will update as well. So as you're moving around, it doesn't get weird. So as you sort of go around to this side, you don't have to press backwards to walk forwards and stuff like that. So it all updates. It's all nice. That will stay locked on to that character until you press sort of the tracking again. So there you go. I've pressed it again, and now I'm back onto this. Fire another trace, and I get the same thing again. This is relatively simple to set up, but I'll go over a few options first and then I'll go through what each part does. So this is all set up inside my first person character. Now don't worry too much about what's going on for now, but at the moment obviously the sphere trace goes into the world and it's looking for an actor that it's hit. What I do in this instance is I get the hit actor from the sphere trace, and I'm simply just saying what I've hit. Is it a valid object? So is it actually an actor? So I'm not picking up static meshes, I'm not picking up other stuff in the world because you don't want to lock onto random things. And then just before we start doing the tracking, I try and cast to a character. Now, the third person character which I was using, its parent class, as you can see up at the top, is character, so this cast should be successful. But if you've got like a creature which is not a character, it'd filter that out. So effectively you can only do this on characters in this setup. And then I go on with the tracking. But before I get into how it all works, there are a few other ways you can do it. So the actual tracking point at the moment is taking the actor's location, which for this actor is basically the center point where the arrow is coming out from. It's kind of like the center point of the character. And then I'm just adding 50 to it, so then it goes to about the chest height. Other ways you could do it, if I just separate these out for now so I don't lose them, is you can... So because you cast into a character by default has a skeletal mesh within it. So what I actually do is, because we're casting to it, we get access to all the character attributes. So the mesh, the arrow component, the camera, if I hadn't have deleted it, but I have done. But one thing you can do is you can cast to that mesh and then ask for the location of a particular skeletal bone. So we can just cast straight to the spine 05. So I'll plug that in there. So just to reiterate, I'm casting to the character, but then I'm promoting it to a variable, so I've got that as a reference. So every time I fire this trigger, this reference is going to update. And we are checking if it's valid first, so none of this would work if we don't hit something. So you're not going to get any errors here if you've not. Spine 05, just to go over where I've got that from. If I go into this character and select the mesh and then click on this browse button, we can go to the skeleton, and spine 05 is just here on the sort of like chest plate area. So that's a good location to pick. Obviously you can pick head, you can pick hand, you can pick wherever you want, but the chest I think is a good sort of average location. So if we use this now and press play, and then if I tag on, you can see that it's pretty much in the same place as it was before. Let's just disconnect that. Let's go over another option. Another option is you can just simply use the impact point. So this is where the sphere trace has actually hit the character. So you can see that I've got a sphere trace here, and the first thing that it hit was actually the arm, probably because it protrudes out of the character the most. So it's tagged onto the arm there. If I tag off that and go for the head, obviously now it's sort of going around that head area. And if I go for like the leg, it's going to go for the leg area. So it snaps onto the bone that we've hit. Now, one other thing I should probably make you aware of is, let's go to collisions. What I've actually done on this character, I think it'd be better if I show you on that. I've got, this is a physics actor because I was doing some other stuff for somebody else. So the whole area's been sort of assigned into these bone areas. So you can see that there's these weird bubbles all around the character. So that's making, they're more likely to be the areas that I'm going to hit. But obviously, if you don't have that, it's going to be more pinpointed into the different spines and stuff like that. But realistically, I've only got these areas to be able to hit, for example. Anyway, come out of that, and we'll go back. So yeah, that's how that was working. So impact point, that is literally the first place that the sort of trace hits. So that's there, that's there, that's there, and again the snap into them areas. If I disconnect that, there is one other thing you could do as well to make this sort of a bit more generic. Actually, I think I've covered everything, to be honest. I was going to do, you can cast the character's class, but to be fair, that's pretty much the same as this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the actor location back in here, and I'll plug it in. I'll plug it in straight from the actor location so you can see where that snaps to. Whoops, I got myself there. I forgot to plug that in. Don't forget to plug in the hit actor, otherwise it does yourself. So here we go, hit halt, and you can see that it snaps to the midpoint of the actor, and it depends on your type of game, but you probably don't want to be aiming for the groin area all the time. So I add 50 to it just to get it back up to that chest point, and you can see that we now cycle through the chest point. We target onto the chest point. Okay, so how does this work? So I can get rid of these now. So there is a few things, but it's not too difficult. So the first thing that I really do is I've picked a key on my keyboard to press to activate it. So I've gone for the left Alt key just because it's an easy place to press. You can pick whatever key you want. We do a flip-flop, but I'll come back to why we do this. But effectively, when we press that button, we're going to go through the A route first, which is going to create this sphere trace. The sphere trace is set up very similar to how you would set up any first-person sort of trace system. I get the camera manager, which basically is an easier way of getting the camera which is assigned to your current character, index 0. I get the camera's location because that would be the actor of the manager. It would be the current camera. That is my start location. So effectively, I don't want to go too basic, but the camera is your eyes where you're looking, so that's the start location. We then get the forward vector, which is which direction is the camera pointing in basic terms. I then add an offset to that, so whatever direction I'm looking in, go 1,500 units forward from that. We then add that to the start location, and that becomes our end location. So it's kind of an offset from the start location. I set a radius of 50. You can play around with this. That's just so then you've got a nice sort of tube. Just nearly knocked my mic over. You've got a nice tube that you're sending through the world, or like a really long capsule kind of thing. You can play around with this to make it suit you. Obviously, if you want to see it, change the draw debug type to sort of something that you want. Then what we do is we get the out hit and we break it just so we can use some of this information that's coming out of it. I can get rid of that now. So I'm expecting to hit an actor object, so what I do first is I'm going to get an is valid just to make sure that my code doesn't run or my blueprint doesn't continue to execute if I've not got a valid target. So it's a bit of safety net there. Because I'm using character models, third person character, they have a parent class of character. So another safety net is if I can cast to a character, I must be hitting a character, because otherwise this would fail. Obviously we promote that to a variable just so we can use the reference that we've casted to. And then we go through what we're doing to sort of set up the targeting. Arguably you could use a tick here, but I don't really like using ticks. I think anytime you use a tick you should reconsider what you're doing, unless it's a last resort, because there should be another way you can do it. I might be wrong in saying that, but I think it's good practice to stray away from ticks when you can. So I'm going to use an event timer. Now obviously this is updating the camera, so I needed to put it down to a time of 0.01, so it's nice and smooth. If you don't know what a timer does, basically once you start this, it's going to trigger an event every whatever time you've set in. So every 0.01 seconds this event is going to trigger and do something, and you can set it to loop, so it's doing that constantly. And what it's actually doing is it's getting the first person camera, so that's my camera for my character, and I'm setting its world rotation. Now the world rotation is made by getting our eyes viewpoint, so that's just another node for get the camera that you're using, so my first person camera. It's just it's just an easier way to get that. It gives you the exact same result as sort of manager and get actor location, except this is just in one node, so it makes the blueprint look a little bit tidier. So find look at rotation, it takes in a start location and what do you want to look at, and it works out the rotation required to look at it. So the target is obviously the actor's location with 50 added to the Z. That gives you a return value of a rotation. That plugs into my world rotation being set for the camera. But what it's also been used for is to set the rotation of the controller. If you don't do this bit, this is the bit that's responsible for when you are tracking and your character is actually rotating around your target. This tells the controller what your orientation is, and it's so then when you walk around the target, you don't have to press backwards to walk forwards. If I remove this, now this might be difficult to show on video, but if I hold Alt now, so I'm just pressing like A and D. Sorry, I had to pause to cough there. I didn't really want to cough on the stream. Okay, so if I hold the Alt key, so I'm just holding the D key, sorry, and obviously my character, the D key is just to go right. Because I'm not updating the controller, my camera's rotating, but my controller doesn't know that I've rotated. So to move around now is really weird. So keeping the controller updated with the camera makes it so then your keys feel normal as you rotate around. So that's how the tracking bit's working. Now obviously you need to deactivate it and sort of resume sort of normal practice. Now one extra thing, when you're moving around like this, your arms and the gun and stuff like that, the orientation of them, or how they move, is linked to the camera. And this is pawn controlled rotation. So for us to do the lock on system, we need to deactivate that, because we're basically saying instead of it automatically updating, we're going to manually set the rotations. So we need to deactivate that. So when we start the event timer, obviously this event's going to start triggering to sort of manually move our camera for us instead of us with the mouse. But we also need to deactivate the use pawn control rotation. So from your first person camera, just drag find set pawn control rotation, untick it so it's not set, and then finally I promote the timer to a variable which I've called it timer handle. The reason for this is you're going to want to stop that timer when you want to stop locking on. So there's something in here called clear and invalidate, which is effectively stop the timer. And that's where we're going to go back to the beginning now and use a flip-flop. Here we go. So obviously you press Alt for the first time. Everything starts locking on. The sphere trace happens. We lock onto the target. And then when we press Alt again, we're going to fire the B line. This is when we're going to clear and invalidate our timer. So we're going to stop our timer. So we're no longer updating the lock-on system. And then we're going to tell the first-person camera start using the pawn control rotation again, so we can use our mouse to aim our character. And that's pretty much it, to be honest. I went into a lot more detail there than I was planning on doing, but I guess now I could list this as a tutorial. It was meant to just be an idea share, but yeah. I hope you like that. I'm obviously going to work on this a little bit more, try and get this a little bit smoother. I think I want to do sort of like smoothing, so when I first lock on, it's not just that that like sort of jolty jump like that. Try and work on smoothing that a little bit, and maybe some other things. But let me know down in the comments what you think of this, if you think you could use it. I think sort of targeting systems are quite popular in some games, especially when it comes to like boss fights and stuff like that. They can be quite useful. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you like this video, consider giving me a like, and yeah, I'll see you in another video, I guess. Thank you. Bye.